Hello. I'm gonna help you guys figure out how to turn a piece of paper into a fund box. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna color it in. Anything you want, any way you want, just make sure that it's beautiful to your eyes. Now, it doesn't matter too much if you color on the outsides of the lines of the piece of where you're going to be cutting out, because you're going to be cutting it out. So you can actually do a little bit of scribbling outside of the lines and it will be just fine. I actually kind of like the effect that you can get. It makes it look kind of like grass once you actually have it cut out. Now that I've got some color, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut out only around the very edge of my square. So I'm going to cut this square here, only around the very edge, and I'm going to cut around this smaller square here at the top. Once they're cut out, I actually like to save the paper if you're cutting this on thicker paper, and it can become a really great bookmark that you can decorate on the other side with a little quotation or maybe a picture that you draw. Now we're going to want to cut the lines fairly carefully, so take your time. You don't need to rush. This is something that you can just kind of calmly cut out along the lines. It's very good practice. And when we have our square cut out, you're going to see there's some solid lines on this. There's 4 places where there are two solid little lines kind of running down in here, and then another one down in here, and one that goes up here, one that goes up here. And we're going to cut those because we're actually going to be folding along any of the lines that are dotted. So when we do this, we're going to cut very carefully only up to the end of the part that is actually solid. So you don't want to cut past that line onto the dotted lines. Otherwise you'll have a hole in the bottom of your box. You cut just up to those lines, and then we're going to fold it. So do one piece at a time. So now we're going to fold along the dotted lines that you see. So there's a dotted line that goes all the way to the bottom and the top of the long edge, and 2 short little dotted lines between the pieces that you just cut. This part's pretty easy. You can just kind of fold it back and look at where your dotted lines are. There's one. You want to fold it down nice and tight, kind of pinch it to make sure that it's really solidly folded. We're going to do the other side as well. If you're having any trouble with this at any point in time, you can always ask for help. Never hurts to ask for help. Now these ends are a little bit more tricky because they're just a little bit finicky. They're smaller. So take your time, really get it lined up. If you can get it folded right the first time, it makes your job a lot easier. So take your time, really pay attention, and do a good, excellent job. And the best part is, if you do make a mistake and it goes a little bit wonky off center, you can fix it. It's very easy to fix. You can kind of just unfold it and refold it in a new way. So we're going to fold the long edges here as well. So I'm taking my time to really line it up. I've spent a lot of years folding paper, and I still take my time, even if it's not a new thing that I'm just learning, because I'm trying to make this fun box as beautiful as I can. Now here comes the fun part. We get to use some glue. So we're gonna actually see how you can kind of see it's like a U shape that you've got going on here. We're gonna bend the ends of a U shape, and we're gonna tuck these little flaps that we've got going on. We're gonna tuck these on the inside, and we're gonna glue them there so that we're actually gonna end up with the bottom of our box, like this. You can see the side there. And this is where we're going to glue in our pieces. So we're actually going to take the glue stick, or regular white glue if you've got that too. Now we're just gonna put some glue on the outside of this, just this flap on the end. So we're gonna do one, and it's a lot easier to do if you do both sides at the same time. Then you can kind of hold them in place. You don't have to try to be moving one around while the other one's drying. Always put the lid back on. You don't want it to dry out. Whoop. And tuck the ends in. Line up the edges so that the dotted part that's here lines right up with your edge. You just kind of press it in place, and then hold it till it dries. This is where we get to work on our virtue of patience. Lots of patience and perseverance if things don't go our way. We're going to keep working on it, be determined to finish the job, and you're creating beauty and using your creativity as you go. Making this box gives us a chance to practice lots of different virtues. Okay, I think that side will hold. We'll do the other one. Take the lid off, do the one little tab, and then we're going to do the other little tab. Okay, tuck them inside. We're going to carefully line them up, and we are going to have ourselves a little box. Here we are. There's the bottom of our box. So now we're going to cut out our other piece. This is going to be the top. So we're going to same thing. We're going to cut right along the solid outside lines. You can see that the solid lines go in. We're going to cut those afterwards. So cut along just the square outline part first. So we're going to cut all the solid lines. There's 2. And 3. Now there's a little piece left over on the end here from between when I cut the other one, so I'm just going to cut that little bit of a strip off because I want my box lid to be even. Okay, now we've got the big square part cut out. We're going to cut our little itsy bitsy teeny ones now. You can see there's little lines on the bottom. Let's turn this like this. You can see there's little lines here that are solid, here, here, and here. And we're going to cut those 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we've got these little teeny pieces on the corners that are cut. Now, same thing that we did with the first one, we're going to fold along the dotted lines. So this one takes a little bit more patience even than the first one. That's why we started with the bigger one, because bigger is usually easier. This one, you gotta really get down to the narrow little teeny tiny bits. But you can do it, because we're gonna be patient and we're gonna persevere. Even though it's kind of tricky, you can do it. Absolutely. It just takes practice. And you know what the great part is? if you really make something that's a really big mistake, you get to make another one. We can make multiples of these. Now that you have an outline, you can actually even trace the outline onto another piece of paper, and you can make your own patterns. You can draw your own pictures. Now that you've learned how to make this shape out of paper, you can actually use it for the rest of your life. You make giant ones. Imagine you can make one that's big enough for your teddy bear to sleep in. Okay, we got all of our little lines folded, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did. The little tabs that are on the very end, this little end bit here, I'm going to put glue on them and tuck them inside to dry on the lid. That's one here, and remember it's easier to do both sides at the same time. So I'm actually going to do these two here and tuck them inside our other piece, our long straight piece here, and line them up and then press them together and hold them, hold them, hold them, hold them. And actually the heat from your fingers are nice and toasty warm, it will help the glue to dry faster. So you'll get a really quick set if you kind of keep your finger on there and keep the warmth from your body drying on that glue. And there's one end finished. All right, so we'll do the other end, and then I'll put the glue cap back on so that my glue doesn't dry out. Very important. I always like to make sure that I put it on right until I can hear the snap. Oh, did you hear it? It's very quiet. Okay, oh, this one's being tricky. That end in, and this end in, and line up the edges. There's one and two, and then hold them with your fingertips, your warm little fingertips, and let them dry. And then you have a fun box lid. Beautiful, beautiful lid. This whole design was put together by a lovely woman named Elaheh Bos. And I want to say a big thank you to her for doing this as a service for us. So now we have our lid to go on our box, and it just sits on like that. And now you have your very own fun box, and you can put all of your savings in here to be able to contribute to the next social feast that we get to do. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful time. Bye.